Hey guys, and welcome to the final walkthrough for my Theed MOC. Now, I couldn't think of a better place to film the intro for this video than one of the actual filming locations used for Star Wars. So what you see behind me is the Plaza España in Sevilla in Spain, and this location was used to represent the planet of Naboo in Star Wars Attack of the Clones. Now, I am so excited to be here. It is honestly so beautiful. But yeah guys, without further ado, here is the finished walkthrough of the MOC. So guys, I am so happy to share with you the finished Theed MOC. I am so happy with how this turned out. For this showcase, what I think I'm going to do is we're sort of going to go kind of like what I did with the build series in phases. So we'll start over by the palace and then work our way down all the way to the arch, and then we'll, check out the features and the details of every single section. And yeah, let's get right into it. Alright you guys, so really quickly before we get into the close-ups, I kind of wanted to do an overview of the entire MOC with all the minifigs in place, just to sort of get an idea of scale and how everything looks. I'm so happy with the level of detail that I was able to fit into this MOC. But yeah guys, let's get into the close-ups of the palace. Alright you guys, so some of you may know that the palace was actually one of the first builds that I actually designed and built for this MOC. Originally, I was just going to build and design the palace. However, I was just so happy with the way it turned out that I thought, why not go ahead and build the entire city? So I guess you could say that the palace really did set the tone and kind of my expectations for what I wanted the entire MOC to look like. Now, I'm not going to go in depth into the details of this particular build because I do have a separate video where I go over absolutely everything that englobes the palace. So I'm going to leave a link for that in the description. And then in case you're interested, I also have instructions available for this build. So I'll leave a link to those down below as well. So why don't we go ahead and move on to another feature, which is over back there behind those trees. So this is a part of the MOC that is rarely showcased as it is so tucked away into a corner of it. From here, you can really appreciate the interior of the palace. But what we have going on here is a really nice little beach. I've placed my custom Boss Nass minifigure as well as Captain Tarpals just to include them in the MOC somewhere. The purpose for this beach was not only to help tie in sort of like the water scene with the rest of the build, but also just sort of like create a space where I could display the Gungan sub. As you know, this is the set where the original Queen Amidala minifigure was from, and it sort of was the minifig that sparked the inspiration for this entire setup. So I thought that including this set was kind of important, and I'm really happy that I was able to find a way to integrate it so organically into the MOC. I also like how the beach just integrates into this sort of like platform that joins in with the rest of the city. I feel like it looks really, really good. But yeah, let's go ahead and move over to the palace entrance. Now, the palace entrance and subsequently the platform that it's connected to, as well as the mountains that hold up the palace, were one of the parts that I was mostly dreading when designing this MOC, because I really wanted to find a way to integrate the palace build organically to the rest of the city. So it really needed to look right and then get the proper proportions to make sure that the palace stood out and you could still tell that it was on top of a really nice mountain sort of build. The statues that are placed in front of the palace, those were particularly difficult to design as well, because they have a very distinct wing design. And originally I had the wings from that Harry Potter Bobat and Chariot set, but they just weren't working right. But I did come up with this technique using Technic panels, and I feel like they really do capture the geometry that the wings in both the movie and the video game have. I feel like they just look so good. And the platform itself turned out great. I love the railing detail with those little Technic balls. They just add the perfect amount of detail and sort of like characteristic to it. It just looks really, really good, and I'm really happy how cohesive everything looks. Like the connection between the palace and the platform and the mountains, it just turned out so well, and I'm just really happy with it. But yeah guys, let's go ahead and move over to this sort of like residential area. Alright, so this little residential area right here can be divided into kind of like 3 sections. The first one being this little garden right in front of this house. Now, this garden was actually a creative liberty taken by me. In the game, this garden is located elsewhere, but I really wanted the city to feel like flooded with greenery. So I feel like locating it here where there would have been rather just an empty plaza was the right choice, and I stand by it. I feel like it really does help add a lot of natural detail to it, and it just looks really, really nice. The second area is this open courtyard. Now, this courtyard is one of my favorite builds in the entire MOC, just because of the sheer amount of foliage that it has. It also makes for a very nice entry point to this like second platform. Now, it is comprised of 3 main entries. You have one here, one on the other end, and then you have this sort of like more discreet side entrance that I just think looks so good, especially with that little lamppost and the plant right there. Now, another very distinct part of this courtyard is this little round building in the middle. It was kind of challenging to find sort of like the proper way to anchor this building to the ground and make sure that it wouldn't warp because of the way that it's built using hinge plates to connect every section. But I feel like it turned out really, really well, and it's actually got a pretty sturdy build. I'm very pleased just with the overall look of this courtyard, and as you can see on the inside, it has little benches as well as little potted plants, and I've used it to create like little scenes, and I'm just really, really happy with how they look. And then guys, the third part of this entire residential area is definitely going to be the houses. Now, all 3 of them are kind of the same. As you can tell, this one just has a different color of roof, and then I've omitted the awnings as well as changed the bar color from brown to gold. And then these ones do have these awnings in dark red, which just help them, you know, distinguish enough from this one to sort of give the idea there are like very different styles, even though they're kind of like just the same build. But let's go ahead and take a look at what they look like on the inside. All right, so I do apologize a little for the poor lighting, but as you can see, guys, the ground floor of all 3 houses is this kind of like seating area with some really nice dark red pillars and some chairs that resemble the ones used in the palace. However, the second floor for these 2 houses in particular is a bedroom with a different color bed, just, you know, to distinct them between each other. And then the top floor for this house is sort of like a dining room area thing. I wanted to sort of give off the vibe that we have in that scene in Attack of the Clones where Anakin and Padme are eating together. So that was kind of like what I was trying to emulate with this build, and I think it looks really, really good. I'm actually really happy with how they look, and having these open backs give us easy access, you know, to place minifigures and set up different scenes. And I just feel like since you don't see them a lot, it works really, really well. But yeah, guys, let's move on to the next part of the MOC. All right, so this next build is definitely one of the more intricate buildings in the MOC. When designing this building, I had to take a lot of reference from the video game and the movies. However, I did end up making it just a little bit taller to make it work with the Lego proportions. As you can see, it's packed with detail on the outside. I've used those candle pieces to help create very thin pillars up front, as well as a lot of snot techniques on the side to give the idea that it's just covered in like these thicker pillars holding the entire building up. You can also see that these spires are built with snot techniques as well for the roof. And then we also have yet another dome capping off a building, which is just insane, the amount of domes that we have in this MOC. But I'm very, very happy with how it turned out. I love that like gigantic door and the flags that just, you know, cover the entire facades of the building. It just looks really, really nice in my opinion. But let's go ahead and take a look at the inside of this building, because this building, unlike the other ones, does not have an open back. Since it's kind of like dab smack in the middle of the MOC, I had to make it sort of like a modular style, so I can remove the different floors to take a look at the interior details, and that's what we are going to go ahead and do now. All right, you guys, so starting off with the top floor, as you can see, the top floor is a bedroom for this build. It has a very nice wardrobe build taken directly from the video game, as well as an exact build for the beds that we used in the houses that I showed previously. The technique for the windows here is also the same one that I've been using all over this MOC, which I feel just fits in really nicely. And then we also have these 2 like flower vases, I guess. And then the level underneath this is actually a sort of like living area. It's kind of hard to get the camera angle right to showcase everything, so I'm going to go ahead and move it so you guys can get a better look at the interior of the bottom level. So guys, this is just going to be the best way for me to showcase this level. As you can see, it has sort of a bit of a loft space slash balcony that overlooks the main like seating area, and then down there you have a very nice like little console table with some decorations, and the whole room is covered in these like really tall, really thin dark red pillars that I feel like add just the right amount of texture to the walls. And then over on this side we have some more chairs to make this a true seating area, but I think it looks really, really nice. I've also added some lights to the walls, you know, just to add a little bit of extra detail. And I feel like just adding an interior to this building, even though it wasn't necessary, just shows just how much detail I wanted to put into this MOC. And I'm just really, really happy with the way it turned out. But yeah, guys, let's move on to the next building. So the next area that I worked on for this MOC isn't necessarily a building, as I said. It's more of a like platform with an interior. As you can see, it has this really tall spire and some really nice detailing that, you know, looks out onto the street. But I think we can appreciate it better if we look at it from the back. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so this is definitely a better angle for me to show you where sort of like the old platform ends and this new one begins. So when building, the old platform only made it up to this level, and then the new one merges in with the stairs and goes up all the way up to here. Now, as you can see, I've kept the same railing design all throughout the MOC, and I'm really happy with how it looks because it really just helps make everything feel just very tied together. This staircase right here also features a nice arched door. Now, the reason for that is also because I wanted it to feel like the city kind of like continues on through it, to give like this idea of a fake continuation. But yeah, and then like underneath the platform, I went ahead and I included this sort of like communications room with a mini kit Easter egg. I feel like that just fits in so nicely right there, sort of like tucked away in a corner as you would find it in the video game. And then for the top of the platform now, in game and in universe, like this platform continues on. There's like buildings on it and everything. But for this MOC, it's merely just a little lookout point surrounded by greenery where you can just sort of like appreciate the beauty of the entire MOC. And I'm just really, really happy with how this turned out. But yeah, guys, let's go ahead and take a look at the next building. All right, you guys, so this next building is probably one of my favorites, if not my favorite building in this entire MOC. Ironically, it is one of the only buildings to not feature an interior, but I feel like it heavily makes up for that with how good its exterior looks. I feel like it just so perfectly captures the romantic architecture that we see featured all over Theed and Naboo in general. It just looks so nice. Now the dome for this building was a bit of a challenge to design, mainly because of the gaps. I was worried that they would be too large and they would, you know, show too much of the structure underneath. But I feel like they're just the right size, maybe a little bit on the larger side, but you know, I feel like they just work out so well, and you can't really tell that there's like anything underneath holding them up, except for when I put myself in this particular angle, you can kind of see some tan pieces underneath. But overall, I feel like it just looks really nice, and that double facade really does help create sort of like a semi-interior space, you know, to set up minifigs and different scenes, and just, you know, make the building look a little bit more lived out. But yeah, guys, I think now let's go ahead and showcase the final building for this MOC. All right, you guys, so the final building, or I guess monument, that I designed and built for this MOC was the arch that sort of marks the entryway into the main street that leads up to the palace. And I'm very pleased with how this particular build turned out. I feel like it was one of the most challenging ones, and it required some of the most creative solutions to get the proper shape and geometry that I wanted. But I'm just very happy with how it looks overall. I love the little details done here with the light bluish gray and the dark tan to sort of add those carvings to its walls, as well as the solution used to cover up the gap underneath the roof. And then just the arch design in general, like to get that double curvatured shape, that was a really big challenge, and I feel like it was one of the most fun ones to tackle, and it just really helps sell the entire shape of the whole thing. And then also this arch features one of the best views of the entire MOC, which is just looking through it all the way down to the end of Main Street. I feel like that just looks fantastic, and I am completely in love with it. But yeah, guys, that is it for all of these builds. Let's go ahead and talk about what you guys can expect from the channel moving forward. So this is it, you guys. This video marks the ending of all sort of like Theed related content on this channel, and I'm honestly just so happy and so proud of how this MOC turned out. I really wanted to take a second and thank absolutely every single one of you that have been, following the series along or have supported this MOC in absolutely any way. It has just been so fantastic to watch the channel grow and sort of the community grow around it, and I'm just so happy where things are going for the channel itself. I wanted to take a second and talk to you guys about something that I've been working on with a very good friend of mine. I wanted to do something kind of special to celebrate the ending of the Theed MOC, so I've been working with him to create a very special art print. This is sort of like what it's going to look like. It's still not finished, but you guys can kind of get an idea. And we will be selling digital copies of these later on, hopefully in a few weeks. And everything that we make from it will definitely help out the channel, and for future videos and future MOCs, it would really mean a lot to me if you guys check those out. I will post a link for it down below when there is eventually a link to post. But yeah, moving forward, you guys, everybody's been asking me, what's the next MOC, or what are you gonna do next? There will not be a big MOC like this for the foreseeable future. Like, this was such a big passion project, and it took up so much time and so much energy. I kind of need a little bit of a break from big MOCs. I definitely will continue to be posting weekly. I kind of want to dabble into other, Lego themes. This channel was never purely Star Wars. It was also like city vibes and, just anything that I found interesting. So I'm very excited to get back into that. There will still be Star Wars content, do not fear, and I will be working on some more MOCs, obviously to a much smaller scale, but I'm very much looking forward to a continued journey with all of you. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!